Hi, everyone. I'm Heather. Welcome to my podcast, Strength for Special Needs Families. And I am here today with Martin Kayima. I'm going to say it wrong. I know it. And he is here from the Kelom Center for Children, and he runs respite there and offers multiple services. Their mission is to support special needs families and children in meeting their full potential. So we're here today to talk a little bit about Martin and exactly what he does. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization?
Sure. Thank you so much, all those who are listening in and tuning in today. Thank you, Eva, for giving me this opportunity just to come and share what we do here in Africa, in Uganda. My name is Martin Wasaja. That was a great try there. I happen to be the director of Kelom Children Centre. So, Kelom was founded way back in 2018 after I graduated and I began to interact with the parents of children with special needs. Um, as a professional occupational therapist, I began to interact and see the need and get to hear the voices and the cry and the desires that the different parents would present in my different sessions every single day. And as a result of that, I began to respond and see what can I do to meet the extra needs, the extra desires, the questions that the parents had. How different, how best can I meet those needs? And as a result of that, to cut the long story short, I began all the different programs that we are going to share about. And yeah, here we are now today. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
inviting me.
So what are some of the needs that they expressed to you that you felt like you needed to help?
Yeah, so one of the biggest need was obviously the need for therapy. Even as of today, therapy is something very hard to find in Africa. Um, Africa has, especially Uganda right now, Uganda has one school of occupational therapy and one school of speech and language therapy, and it has only two schools of physical therapy. And in those different schools right now, they produce about 18 students a year to that is at most, because sometimes there are 10, 5 students that graduate, and that doesn't cover the population that we have in Uganda. As uh, as of recent, when I last checked on our professional platforms of those who have graduated over the years as occupational therapists, we are only 200 uh, professionals, and not all of them are practicing as occupational therapists. We are only having 70 of them practicing as occupational therapists.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And
Yeah.
that gets worse for speech therapists, because speech therapists, the last time I checked, there were about 40, 30 speech therapists that were in Uganda working with people having special needs. And physical therapists, of course, the number is just slightly above all that. So what that shows is the great need for all these therapists, for all these therapies that, basing on the versus the population, looking at the prevalence of all the different disabilities, having about the prevalence at 27% of Uganda's population having a certain form of disability, as per the registration of the Uganda Bureau of Statistics in Uganda. So that shows that it is very hard for someone to find therapy, but also looking at the healthcare system, how the different therapies are allocated to different healthcare centers. You find that therapists are only allocated to health center four, and then the regional referral and the national referral. So only three levels of health care system have allocations for therapies here in Uganda. So that that also speaks volumes, because in a region which has a very big population and it is only having one regional referral hospital, and it is miles and miles and miles away. So access to therapy is and it was one of the major reasons as to why we began with the ministry we are doing. And as a result of that, we just embraced visiting children's homes. We do much of community-based rehabilitation therapy approach. It's the approach that we use, because with this approach, the parent does not need to move long distances to find these services. Rather, the services find them in their homes, and this gives them opportunity to get the therapies at reliably, because uh, one of the reasons also that parents would give was the transportation costs, because these are parents who are not working, they are not earning, they have to take care of these children day in, day out. They are with this child, they are not working, they are not earning, and yet they have to find transport to go and have therapies. They also have to find the basic needs that the children need as they go to the different facilities. And so as a result of that, we realized that the community-based approach is a better approach for the parents and the most vulnerable communities that we serve.
I love that. So we have a lot of the exact same problems in America, transportation to get there. A parent has
Yeah.
to quit working, so we don't have the financial means. And even if your kid's hospitalized a lot, like there's a lot of times that parents can't work when you have a special needs child. And even here, like it's impossible to find home therapy. Like I drive an hour like 3 days a week for my kids to go to therapy.
Wow.
So right. So, I mean, that's amazing. And I know, so like some programs in Ohio in America where I live, they have till the age of 3, they have home-based services. But then after that, they won't come to your home. So that's amazing that you're offering that support for people, because you're right, it's so needed. And even in America, we don't have that. So I really love that you like tried to figure out what the problems are and how you could help, and then you solve those for families. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is bringing so much fulfillment, because with this approach, it's not only the person who has brought the child to the clinic or where we to see the therapist from learns how to support the special needs child. No, everyone in the home, starting from the siblings get to see, they watch. We invite them, we tell them, come and see, this is how you do it. This is how you can do the therapy. This is the best posture for your sister. This is how you hold them when you're feeding them. This is how you dress them. This is how you have a diaper change for them. So we train all that, and being that it's in the child's home, we use equipment that we find in the home. And so this makes it even easier and cheaper, because it makes me think outside of the box with my team. We think outside the box. We look at the resources available, and the parent doesn't need to buy fancy toys or fancy what. No, we look around what's available in the home, and it also gives the opportunity to just adopt the child is home and change and advise and tell them this is what you can do. Maybe you need to change uh, the entrance of the house. You need to move some of this furniture far away and then lie them on the floor. So such things I've found it very effective in the therapies that we give, but also having more people who can really work with this child, and it's not left to, oh, it's the mom. The mom takes him to the clinic or her to the clinic, and then the child becomes for the mom, or the child becomes for the person who takes them to the clinic. No, everyone is involved, everyone is engaged, and you would see that
I love
it's
that.
true. Therapy needs a holistic approach, just doing everything as a team, but also trying to intervene in every aspect, the social, emotional, financial, economical, all the different aspects. So it gives opportunity to see all that and see how you can engage the parents.
I really love that approach because especially like for me, like I'm driving my kids to therapy as I told you. So today's a therapy day, but my kids are sick. So at 1:30 p.m. we would be there. We'd leave at 12:30 to get there at 1:30. And then they're there until 4:30 and then we don't get home till 5:30. So we're gone from noon to 5:30. Like it's basically a full-time job just taking my kids to therapy. And then they come home and I'm supposed to be doing my own therapies, like putting them in the stander or
Yeah.
standing them. I mean, and I love that approach that you're finding things around the house because I always tell, I've been doing these Zoom calls, and one of the challenges is always therapy. Like, how do I manage going to work and going to therapy? And one thing that I like to tell people is there's so many things that are like therapy that you could do in your house. Like as an OT, even like coloring is an OT thing, right? So I'm like, or like putting something in, like you could put something in a pan, even an egg in a pan is occupational therapy technically, right? So like I love that you're finding ways to just like use the equipment that they already have. And I love the siblings. That's amazing because I actually have two older kids. My son's actually about to go to school to be a physical therapist next year, probably because of my twins. But like they're not involved. Like they'll play with them sometimes, like when we're walking them in their walkers or when they're in their standard, but they're not involved in any of their therapies. And I absolutely love that you do involve them because these siblings, like for me, I feel so guilty that they don't get the amount of attention that my special needs kids get. Right. So I love that you include them because it also allows the parent to connect with every child in the house, right? Instead
Yes.
of just the special needs child.
Yeah, and also because we find that approach effective because now we do not just look at the child now, because the child, there is a future of the child. The parent has a lot to think about also. You have a lot to think about. You have bills, you have what, a lot to think about. And here in Africa, because of that, many parents sometimes they tend even to have less time because we live in different continents. There is no support from government, and as a result of that, parents just tend sometimes to even forget about their special needs children. Now, if the parents are busy and they have forgotten, and then the siblings who should be available are not also engaged, that means no one is taking care of the child. But if they are inspired to begin right from the start, to be part of their siblings' life, to be part of their life, it will be easier even for them in future when the parents are normal, when the parents have gone or anything has happened. Uh, the sibling, because they have the attachment already, they have been involved in their siblings' life. They will really, it will be easier for them to transition and support. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing because that's like my biggest fear. That's something that I worry about frequently is what happens if I die or my husband dies or we both die together because
that that
there's
that has
literally
been
no one to take care of our kids. Like we have
that has
no
been,
one.
that has been a very big question that has, yeah, and so that's why we have such an approach.
I love that approach. Yeah. And in America, so what we would do is we would probably put them in a facility, a nursing facility with multiple residents. And as a nurse, I've worked at these nursing facilities. You're one nurse for 26 patients. I've seen nurses have up to 40 patients. I refuse that many patients because I'm not losing my license. That's inappropriate. But these aides, and literally all I'm doing is giving pills, and the aides are the ones doing all the work. But like, there's people that are left in these diapers for like 8 hours, and you're like, why would you like, you know what I'm saying? Because as the nurse doesn't really know what the aides are doing until the patient is able to tell you, or you see it for yourself, right? Because you don't have
Yeah.
time to be babysitting what the aides are doing while you're passing out 1,000 meds to all these patients. So like, I don't ever want my kids in that environment, ever, ever, ever. So even right now, like my son just turned 18, but I mean, if something were to happen to us in the future, like he wouldn't be capable of taking care of them because he still has to like get a degree and work and figure out his finances in a stable housing situation before he would be able to even get custody of our two children. So yes.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
absolutely love that approach. What inspired you to work with special needs kids?
Yeah. So first, it has been a journey, but above all, what inspires me the most is being sure that this is what God has called me to do. It I feel so much fulfillment in my heart, great joy every time I'm serving with the special needs children. Uh, After my graduation, even way back before that, I had my grandfather. I grew up in a homestead. Africa is known for that. We so much grow up in homesteads because uh, people would have vast of land, and then they will give to their children, and their children will give to their children, so they will pass on land like that. And so my grandfather had was blind, so every time he would be in his house and he would cry out, "Who is there? I need help. I need someone to help me. I want to go to the toilet. I want to eat food. I'm hungry." And so I would see people tiptoe around his house and just leave him helpless. I made a decision in my life just to support him, and he was happy about it. I remember, at least for the last part of his life, I supported him as much as I could, and that by that, God drew a character in me. God was stirring up something. He was working out something. He was changing my thought and my attitude and giving me a twist of how I view disability. And so when I went to college, I applied for occupation therapy, and then as I continued to work with the special needs children, I decided just to work and focus more on the kids. And I just remember a scripture in Colossians 3 that says that for everything that you do, do it as you do it unto the Lord. And so I just try to do my best and express the grace of God. When I'm working with the special needs children, I want to show that grace that Christ showed to all humans, that Christ loved us even while we were yet sinners. Christ came and died for us on the cross. He loved us irrespective. So persons and children with special needs should be loved, should be cared for,
Yes.
irrespective of how they behave, irrespective of what they are able to offer us, irrespective of how he, I mean, grace was given to us. Freely we were given, freely we should give.
I love
That
that.
is
And
right.
I love that. And I also feel like, you know, you were put like every human is worthy. Like you were put here a human, right? Like you weren't put here an ant or a lion or right? You're here as a human, and you just so deserve love just for being you. And I'm a
Yeah,
firm believer in that.
yes. All
And
people
all
should
of
be
us
loved.
have disabilities, right? We all have things that like are different than everybody else. So,
Exactly.
right.
Exactly.
It's about what
Right.
your abilities are.
So we just ought to support and see how we can help other people overcome the different barriers in life. Because disabilities are more profound when there are barriers that cannot be solved, causing about
Right.
handicapness. But if barriers in lives of people with disability, let it be children or what, are solved, then everyone is well off, good to go.
Right, then they can have the quality of life that they deserve also.
Right, right. We
Right.
just improve quality of life.
Yes, I absolutely love that. So, how do you think your organization supports the mental health of the caregivers and the families?
Yeah, so we have a number of programs like I was sharing, and I think one of the program that we do that I feel is so much supportive of the mental health of these parents is the respite care, because man, sometimes you just feel you want to run. Sometimes you just feel you need some time off. You feel
Yes,
you need
you need a break.
rest. You need
Everybody
a break.
deserves and needs a break, right?
You
But
need a
it's very
break.
hard to give a break when in America, like, I don't trust someone else to take care of my kids, right? Or to set, so for us, respite could even mean like sending them to a facility, like I talked about earlier. And so it's very hard in America for us to even be okay with taking the idea of respite, because we're so taught like, oh, we need to take care of our other kid. We're taught not to trust other people, and we're not as community based as Africa for sure.
Yeah, so but Africa is a different story because people can can easily trust each other with their children. People can easily leave their children. It's something common here. When a mom is going to the market, he will just tell the neighbor, "Oh, I'm away. Please, could you help me watch my kids? I'm gone." And
Now,
so
can
that,
special needs parents, do they have that same luxury?
unfortunately, they don't. And so as a result of that, that's why we are doing respites. So with the respites, parents get opportunity to have somewhere they can leave their children for a minute. So we do respites for a day, we do respites for 3 days. So in a year we can have at most three respites because of the resources we have. But there is so much need. There is great need for respite care. Respite care is a little bit different from what did you say? Facility something that you.
So in America, respite care is either like you can hire somebody to come to your house and they will take care of them there, which is like impossible because who wants to spend 3 days at your house, right? And of course, they're only going to pay, half of those days or something. And then there's also respite where you can put them in like a nursing home facility and then leave them. And for me, like my kids would be scared to death if I just left them in a facility, right? Like they don't know anybody there, they don't know where they're at. Like I just would never be able to do that for them. So what does respite look like there? Like are they just leaving their kid at a facility? Does somebody come to the house? How does that work?
Yeah, so in our respite program, the 1 day respite program events that we do is we ask the parents to sign up. We tell them that we are having a respite on such and such a date. So if you want to do anything, you can plan around this time. We'll be available with a team of volunteers. You can drop off your children at this particular venue, and then we can have your child while you go finish up something, try to catch up something, or you need some time off with your spouse or your fiance. um, why we why I really believe that respite is very effective, it's because of the different testimonies that I've had from the parents, but also in Uganda, unlike in America, there are so many cases of abandonment, like parents abandoning their children. I used to work in an orphanage for my first years of practice, and yeah, there were children with special needs who were being abandoned.
Same thing
And
with here.
yeah,
Same thing
one
with
of the
here. They'll leave them in the hospital and never come back or things like that. They're very hard. They're abandoned here also, and they're very hard to place like in a foster care because nobody wants them.
No one. Yeah. So, as a preventive tool to manage that, uh, what it was to give respite to these parents so that they can have time to rest and also have time to reflect on their marriages. The husbands never get time. I was just sharing with you earlier on with my 3-year-old and 7 months old babies whom I have. And sometimes you really feel like the babies are taking over all the time that the mom has. The
Yep.
mom, like, she has to cook, she has to feed this one, she's doing the other thing, and then you're kind of like, okay, so when do we get to talk?
Yeah.
When do we
And
never
yeah,
get time for ourselves.
right.
So
No, and I'll tell you from a mom's perspective, it's like, oh my gosh, I've given all my energy to my kids all day. I don't have energy for you. I don't have energy for myself. So hard. And I
exactly,
think that's why a lot of special needs parents, their marriages actually fail, like at a way higher rate than regular divorces.
yes, yes. So if they can, if there are services like that we offer, respite, it could be just an hour or something, and then the parents just go and talk about stuff in their marriage, and just talk about what is happening, really, what's really happening, where are we, who are we. Yeah,
Right. Yeah, that's it. That does make it hard because you're so busy. I mean, and it's 24/7. It's not like it just ends when it's bedtime, right? Like it's like, and you said you have little ones. I don't know if they still wake up at night, but I was telling Martin earlier that having a special needs kid is basically like having like a newborn or like a younger kid. Like for, I've had mine for 8 years and it still feels like my one doesn't talk. So I'm always trying to figure out their needs. So it's very similar to taking care of younger kids for sure.
yeah, yeah.
The
So
stress anyways of it.
yeah, so what we offer is the respite care, and respite, we just sign up volunteers, we hire a venue, we have parents drop off their children, or sometimes we go pick the children basing on the program. We go to the individual homes with a car and pick the children, and we say we'll bring them back. And so we pick the special needs child and their siblings, and then the mom
Oh,
and the
your
dad
siblings too. That's
and the
amazing.
siblings. Yes, and so the mom and the dad are just left to have time off all by themselves, do whatever they want, and then we have policies. The parents sign the policies. They sign different forms. They hand over the medications that the children are on and stuff like that, and so. Yeah, and I thank God that in the past we haven't had any of the issues raising, but because of also because we have had a great team. My wife is a nurse, and she really does great work monitoring the children while at the respite events, and we try to do manageable numbers. At most, we can have 17 children at most, and would have like a ratio of 1 on 2, one volunteer for 2 children. That includes either a special needs and a neurotypical child, something like that. So and then we just have a great time of fun and play and just exploring. In the past, we have been to parks, children's parks. We have been to the zoo. We have been to different places, uh, just for the children to experience all this love, to experience what is really happening, to experience life and just enjoy it. Yeah, just enjoy the life.
Yes, that's so important to me too, is trying to get my kids as much normalcy as possible. So like on
Mhm.
Halloween in America, we go trick or treating where they go door to door and they get candy. Well, my girls don't
Mhm.
even eat my mouth. They're too fed, but I still take them to do that so that they can wear their costumes, see the other kids in
Yeah.
costumes, feel like they're a part. of, what
Mhm.
everybody else is doing, because they deserve to be a part of that.
We have to participate. They have to participate in everything. That's inclusion. That's
Right.
inclusion. And in the past, we have had, of course, the different places that I've taken them to. I've seen the policies of those places change. At first, there are some swimming pools which used not to allow special needs children, and now they are allowing special needs children. In the past, there are some places which were very hard to reach, for wheelchair users with very grumpy, unlevel grounds. And when we go back, they level the grounds. They try to make the place accessible, more accessible, and so showing the public that these people matter, this is necessary. We need accessibility, and them working on it. I think it's something that has been very great. And so yeah, we have had respite care. We have a clinic, and at that clinic we offer medical care, free medical care to the special needs families. And
So
so
how do you do that? So how are you funded? I would love for you to share that with us, because at the end of this I would like to leave your link in the comments, and if anybody wants to donate or volunteer or any way that we can help your organization out, that way they will be able to do so if possible.
yes, and that will be very helpful. That will be we are very excited about that. I need to. Wow, it's just how come it's getting crazy here.
Oh, yeah. So is the best way for you to get help for your organization, do you raise all the money to provide free healthcare? Like, how do you provide that for free?
Yeah, so how I provide the healthcare for free is, um we have had, uh, right now it's really challenging. It's very challenging because, um I think one of the plus God has given me is I have my wife and she's a nurse, and so she's offering free services. She's volunteering, total free, offering free services. And so we open the clinic up to the community, and the community also gets services, medical services, but as at a subsidized cost. And so the small payment that they make as a community is to help us pay the doctor and pay the rent and stock medicines. So it leaves me a relatively high workload because I have to look for the other resources to fund the rest of the staff, because we have an extra nurse, we have cleaners, we have different people coming and supporting. And so, on addition of the free services that we offer, I spare time, and then I have friends who have special needs children that I've talked to, and they are willing to pay for my services. Actually, I only have two clients, two mothers of special needs children who are paying for my services. So I go to their home, I give them the services for their special needs children, and they pay me. So that money that I get, it's the one which helps me to save and run my family and support my family. And then it has been very challenging in the past, but yeah, of recent, we have reached out to Code Ministries, Code International, and we have just signed a partnership with Code. It's a mission organization, and they checked our paperwork and they saw that we are fit to be missionaries in Uganda, and so we have signed as missionaries in Uganda with them, and so they are going to be receiving donations. People who wish to donate to Kelom and the ministry that we do can go to COD International Ministries, and then they'll be donating to Kelom. And so those finances will be helping us. They'll offer tax receipts to people who donate to Kelom, and it will be. We hope that we will get more resources that will enable us to run. But it has been really challenging, and because of that, we can't grow further than what we can raise at the moment. Because at the moment, I am only able to do 4 sessions with my team a day. So every single day, that's Monday to Friday, we are only doing only 4 sessions that are free every single day. And
Okay.
so, but if we have more resources coming in, we can hire more people, more therapists to come and join the ministry. And then we can have more people going into the different homes to provide free therapy for all children with special needs. And we will do more trainings, and we shall do more respite events. We hope to do at least one respite event every month, but at the moment we are only able to do 3 respite events in a year. So we hope that if we have more people, more friends joining our ministry and the work we do, we can reach out to a broader a group of people. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will make sure that I put the link and how to donate to you below in this podcast. So anybody that wants to donate or give back, do you also take volunteers?
Definitely, yes. We wish to we welcome volunteers from all parts of the world. As long as someone has a passion for special needs, we welcome you. Even when you have a disability, you can still come and we work together and we support children with special needs. We have volunteers also in Kelom who have disabilities, and we are working with them to support other people with special needs. So we invite everyone all over the world to come and just join. We can always work through code, and you also get resources, and you'll be financed for the time you are here in Uganda, or anything can be worked out. So feel free just to email us at uh, officekelom at gmail. I think
Okay.
the email is also included.
Yeah, I will put all of that in. Like when I go to post this podcast, I'll put all that in there where they can get links to you and how they can get how they can help your organization if possible.
It will be a blessing.
Yes. Do you want to so before we get off, did you want to share any case studies or do you have to go?
Oh no, I'm fine.
Okay.
I just
Do you want to
I
share a
had
case study with us and then we'll go? I just wanted to see because I know you said you wanted to share a couple case studies. So,
so friends, I want to let you know that what we are doing in Uganda is really causing impact. And first thing, I'm really excited to share with you the testimonies that we are doing as missionaries within our own country. It is bringing so much joy to our family. It's a great opportunity for us to see how God is working through the lives of the communities and the people we serve. At the moment, we are able to support 32 children with special needs in their families. There we interact with the families, their home, the parents, everyone we find at home. We share Christ with them, we pray with them, we encourage them, we refer them to other services that they need, all that they may need. We give them free medical services at our clinic. We offer them the respite care. And as a result of that, we have seen God transform lives of these children. For example, Madina. Madina is a young girl who is right now 8 years. And by the time I met her, she was 6 years. And she wasn't able to do anything. She wasn't able to sit. She wasn't able to feed by herself. And just a few days, I met the grandma, and she said, "Thank you so much. Medina is now able even to, she's now stands on things. Like when you lift her and put her in standing position, she's able to maintain the standing posture. When you go to our website, you'll see a video of Jane Betty, who who is now walking in her walker. By the time I met Jane Betty, she wasn't able to walk. She was throwing tantrums and she was drooling. And right now, Jen, I posted an update on my Facebook where I delivered a wheelchair for her. Just this week, I delivered a wheelchair to Jen, and she joined an inclusive school. So she's in a preschool right now. She goes to school. And this is as a result of just networking with people and friends that I meet along the way. Someone offered to sponsor Jen, and Jen is right now in school. I'm so excited to see her report and see how she's doing. But I've visited her school twice at least, and the school is very positive. I've seen her work, her scribbling has improved. She's now able to scribble. She knows the different body parts. She speaks some English. And so that's transformation in Jen's life. So there's so many testimonies I've seen, hope being built in the parents. As we close up, Ethan, this is something interesting. At some point, I asked myself a question: Am I causing impact? Are we causing impact? And then one day, as I went to a home visit to a mom, she went ahead and she told me a story of her life, how she received her baby, and all the trauma that she has, and every pain. And I was just there listening. And at the end, just with tears, her soaking in tears, she said, "Do you know what, Martin? I've never had anyone give me time and listen to what I have to say."
Yes, and that's actually why I started doing these Zoom calls, because I feel like everybody needs to feel seen and heard and less alone. And I really feel like I've been able to provide that environment to some of these parents on these calls, that they can vent and they can see that other people are experiencing their same troubles that they have.
And
Um,
that's a very beautiful ministry. And that alone encouraged me. It made me realize that I don't need to do much. Even me just visiting them and paying attention and getting them to know that someone hears them, sees them, understands what they're going through. It was
Yeah,
such a
it's
great
life
encounter.
changing. It is. It's life changing, because a lot of people leave your life when you have a special needs kid. Like, people just start disappearing, and your community seems to get smaller and smaller, and you get more isolated. And it's so important for these people to be able to grieve. There's so much grief that goes into special needs parenting, and there's so much trauma. And that's exactly why I started this podcast, so that I could address the trauma that occurs in parents' life. I have been through so many traumatic experiences with my girls. My life is completely different since having them. And I've really had to learn how to come out. At one point, I was completely burned out. My daughter, when she was born, we didn't know if she was going to live for like the first 3 years of her life. She's needed CPR several times, where she's actually died and they've had to bring her back to life. And she's needed a liver transplant. She had cancer. I mean, we've been through so much trauma since having her. And even like little things day to day are like showing up at a park and it's not accessible and your kids can't use it because they're in wheelchairs. Like, that is even traumatic. Like, and people don't see that as trauma because it's not like a big trauma, but it definitely is. And those experiences add up. And these people definitely need seen and heard, and to be able to vent their experience to somebody that understands. And therapists, for me, are a great way, because I feel like you get it. Like, you understand how hard my child has worked to get here, versus the
Yeah,
school that's like, well, your kid's not like the other 8 years olds, right? Your kid's way behind. Versus she's right on track for herself and where she needs to be on her own track and progress, right?
yeah. Like the way I see things now is just different. Like what
Me too.
inspires me to do what I do to tell you the truth, is just seeing the little things. Like today, I was just working with Israel, and Israel moved. I was telling him, and you move your right hand in, and then your right hand out, and then he responded, moving his right hand in into the rice, and then his right hand in out of the rice. I was like, that's it. That's
I
it.
know, right? Exactly. That's what's
That's
so amazing. Like we don't realize how blessed we are that we're perfectly capable and able of moving our right arm in and out, right? Of being
right.
able to put food to our mouth even. So like my daughter has been giving high fives now, and I like it's like a huge celebration. Like you finally learned that. I've been teaching you that for 8 years, right? And I feel like with therapists, that's probably why it feels sometimes it can feel less rewarding because these kids, like, they go to therapy, and they go to therapy, they go to therapy, and you don't see progress. And then one day they just get it. And you're like, oh my goodness, they finally got it, right? They finally got it. And I feel like these kids are so resilient and their brains can always learn new things, and you just never know what they're going to do. So these doctors, especially in America, like to just count them out and tell you they're never going to walk, they're never going to talk, they're never ever going to do A, B, C, and D. And these kids are like, I think I am. So I mean, I think it's amazing what you're doing. I'm so glad that you're helping people and that you're able to do what you're doing because that's amazing. I feel like we need your
Yeah.
services even over here.
I can come. I can come and train some few people, and then I come back to Africa because there is more need in Africa.
Right. Oh, I'm sure. Right. But I love your system and your mythology and all of that and the way that you go about things and how you figured out, like, hey, these are the problems that need solved. How can we solve these?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for everything you do. You are making a huge difference in lives, even if it doesn't always feel like it, right?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity you have given me to share to the community out there, to the people out there. Um, one thing I'm sure of is this is what God has called me to do. My family is happy about it. My wife is very supportive of it. We are very excited about it. We are just blessing God for it and looking forward for what God is going to do through the ministry we're doing. And I just thank God for the opportunity He gives me every single day to meet these children, to work with them, and be part of these different family stories. It is such a blessing. It is a blessing to me.
Oh, well, I'm thankful for you. Thank you for everything you do for everybody over there and how you problem solve and how you manage everything in their house without even like finding equipment. That's pretty amazing too. Because you're right, you can use a table instead of like having to have a fancy therapy bench that costs $300, right? You could just use a
Like,
table that they have to help them stand.
like you go in the children, you go in a home and then they say you need a roller. No, get a pillow, put a pillow, roll it. Let's do prone lying. We need to standing frame. No, let us get a chair. A chair, is it high enough? Is the table high enough? Can you try to grab here? Can I hold you here? And you find that even the child will learn even faster. Yeah.
Right.
So
Right, because they're comfortable in that environment versus my kids that are going to therapy and they're not always comfortable there, right? They're like, what are we, like, especially my one, she's like, what are we doing here? Why are we here? Gosh dang it, they're going to make me work today. Versus if you're coming to their house, they're already comfortable and they don't have that adjustment to a new environment on top of it.
yeah, they have to adjust to the environment, they have to adjust to the people, they have to adjust to the technology. They have had a drive log. Yeah, they are exhausted by the
Right.
drive.
Right. I spend all day in my car, right? And then, like I said, I come home and I do my own therapies with them. So,
Yeah.
you know, I implement what they were teaching me to do. Like my one has a standing program, so she's supposed to be in the stander every single day. So, and then it's like that fine line of like, okay, have I worked them too much today? Should I put her in the stander? She's done therapy at school and at therapy, you know? So, I think everything you're doing is amazing. I hope that you know, you find all the resources that you need. I think God will always take care of you.
Yeah,
especially when you're
I
doing
think.
something so great as you're doing.
Amen. Yeah, I think our greatest need right now is someone. We are trying to construct a respite center so that we don't have to rent space. And also, we will have to do more often respite programs. And it will also be a training ground, and we shall do several meetings for the parent support groups, and it will be a transforming place. And so, if someone out there feels uh, the desire and would like to just be part of this exciting ministry and what God is doing here in Africa, please just reach out to all the different links we'll be sharing just on our website and everything. Um, and it will be a blessing. You will impact lives together with us. You join us just to impact lives together, and God will bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm so happy to have you here today. Thank you so much, Martin.
Thank you
If
so
you,
much.
if everybody could just subscribe and like my podcast, and I will post all the links below. Have a great day, everyone.